And we're going. What's happening, team? Welcome to Ask BBad a Question, masking tape. You guys have sent some really cool questions through. Now, there's some cool new people to the group. Shout out to you humans out there. Welcome along. Playing and watching the video. What's happening here is every fortnight I post that link, the Google form. You fill it out. You ask me a question, anything you like. Typically getting stuff around training, my own training, your training, how, why, right, programming stuff. Stories, what I like to eat. There's something about what I like to wear in here. Your own training, anything, literally anything. Drop it in there. So, kicking it off, we have some really good ones today. This is a favorite. Here we go. Dear Johnny, what is the origin of short Monday? Now, I don't know if you know, this is a time honored gym tradition that has begun before gyms even existed, and it is to wear the shortest of shorts on a Monday to the gym and train. Regardless of training days, you must wear those shorty shorts to the gym. Who currently holds the record for short shorts? Um, I think I'm going to claim it, that I have the shortest shorts due to size of short and my size of butt. The short will typically make its way higher up the legs throughout the Monday, and the shirt ends up looking like it's a shirt, no shorts. I will say, shout out Greer. She does also bring a very strong short game with the appropriate shirt. Looks like she also has no shorts on. So strongly encourage you guys coming in to visit me in person, train at FB on a Monday, or train at home or in your own gyms. Take up the challenge of a short Monday. Grab some photos, chuck them up, tag us in them, share them in the group if you can. A little bit of a technical one here, team. Very excited about it. It is the question, what is the core? What is core? What muscles are we talking about? And does the core need to be trained differently for different activities? Now, little note, core. Typically programming wise, I will put something at the start of the program, something very basic. Let's call it an activation drill so you can feel where you should be in a movement. You can feel what that core feels like, something like a bird dog. It's probably my most popular one, or some sort of plank scenario. And then I will typically then always put at the end, I'll write core and then exercise, core, then exercise. More often than not, one exercise expectation is 2 to 3, 4 sets, 10, 15 reps. So if it's time based, sort of 30 to 90 seconds thereabouts. I would probably say out of all the exercises written on programs, my own, everyone else's, that's probably the most skipped, the least amount of purpose put towards it, but something that has huge opportunity to be done well with purpose. So perhaps maybe a little bit more understanding around core thanks to this question might get you guys all fired up for it. And also, I can tell you for a guy who didn't train core properly due to lack of interest and let's say less than ideal coaching situations, I did end up with a couple of discs hanging out the back of my spine back in 2013. So from a personal point of view, I find it very important to do. Now, Squat University. If you don't know who he is or what it is, look it up. It's a really cool Instagram page. They put up some great videos on stuff. Super smart guy, and I have stolen what I think is a really good definition of core. He talks about it and says, a quote, "The muscles that surround our spine are considered the core of our body. It's composed of abdominal muscles on your front and sides, the erector muscles of the back, even the larger muscles that span multiple joints like psoas and lats." There's a bunch of bigger muscles there and a bunch of little muscles, but essentially their main role is to stabilize that joint, those hips to pelvis, keep them in the unicorn of space and place called the neutral spine, neutral hips. Now, what is so important about core and training the core? Now, when the core fails to meet the stability demands placed on the body during a certain lift, let's say a squat, parts of that spine are going to be overloaded with the forces, and then you have injury risk and your performance will suffer. And the thing about those things, injury, risk, and performance will suffer. Now, what is the injuries that you can happen? Back injuries are the first thing that come to mind. You can blow discs out. You can do all sorts of things with an unstable core. Now, performance, let's think about that, as a high percentage of the people in this group are chasing the pursuit of adding more kilos to a barbell, whether it's in a competition environment or just at home in their own gym or at another gym they train at. You are literally leaking kilos because you are not stable and you don't have the ability to remain stable with your core. Think of it like trying to shoot a cannonball out of a canoe. That is the best analogy that I can think about if core is a weak point for you. Now, as for training different activities, yes, the short answer is yes. Depending on activity, the demand placed on that core is different. Best example is a thrower versus squatter. Throwers require the ability to stabilize their spine as they rotate to throw their object. As they rotate, so it has rotational there, absolutely. As a squatter, so a little bit more, I guess, in our world, so to speak. You are in a static position. The purpose of that core is to maintain and keep you in that static position while you descend and move through space and time with that barbell. And then as you ascend with the squat. So if you can keep that stabilized, that's where you keep the power. If your core breaks down or you manage to lose position because it's not strong enough, or the other thing to consider is you're not aware enough around what that position is, something will move that's not supposed to move, and then you either leak kilos by not lifting enough, or you open yourself up to injury. Now, one of the another good analogy Doc Stuart McGill has around the spine. He goes, it has the ability to flex and bend, absolutely. And he talks about it like being like a credit card. Credit cards can flex and bend, but eventually they will snap and they will break and it'll be a problem. Credit cards versus spines, we can just go get a new one from the bank. Fixing the broken down injury, dudes with back injury, is way more complicated than going to Commonwealth Bank and getting yourself a new back. Now, training requirements. So powerlifter, so talking about, for me, I like to prioritize static movements because I do recognize that we are short on time. We can't train forever. We're, let's call it the amateur athlete or the hobby lifter. So we are reduced on time in our training sessions. We need to prioritize what's important. So looking at the static position required for most of our stuff, we look at static positions for our core. So you'll see typically I will use planks, pull-off press, suitcase holds, etc. If you are good at the static movement at staying still, I like to add an element of instability to then challenge your core at a higher level. Think of a plank taking 1 foot off the ground. Think of a renegade row. Think of the power-off press where you're pushing a weight away from you. The suitcase hole, you have the weight sitting on the side that you need to stand upright. However, I do know it's very important that we don't become a one-dimensional person and just be good at doing standing up things. So I like to add stuff that has rotational challenges like windmills and torsionated twists. And then also, most importantly, because I'm sure we can all agree here that core stuff is typically boring, or we're just really fucking tired by the time we get to it. So I like to add lots of variations. So I like to change it from program to program to keep it new and interesting for you. But essentially, we're all trying to train that same thing. Get that core in the right position, so neutral position, and then challenge it. Now, question number 3, am I planning to commit myself? Yes, good question. I just wrote out some goals today that's sitting on the wall at Fortitude. One of my goals I wrote was to compete twice this year. Haven't had the opportunity to be on the platform since not last year, the year before, where I learned again a very valuable lesson. Do not compete, try and coach and run an event because it doesn't go well, and I bombed. So I have planned this year to lift in GPC states. It just lines up perfectly because all of my people that compete are competing in every comp of that one. Biggest challenges I find as a coach is to do a comp that my own humans are in, and of course my humans are my priority. Me competing is a secondary. So being that that weekend no one else is in, I've chosen that comp to do. Goals for that comp is literally to have a competition experience. So I don't have barbell number goals. I want to have the competition experience. So I am I want to be able to set the example that you don't need to train 5 days a week. You can still have a competition experience with reduced training time, which I've allocated 2 heavy days to, and then an accessory day, which can be either done at home or if I get to any more extra time at the gym. And I do feel with my focus not being on what's on the bar, I can still have that competition experience. The big question will be whether I PB or not. I'm not quite sure yet. We're too far out to see what the training numbers are going to be like. Go to for training and recovery food. So let's talk about pre-training. Pre-training, I like to keep it pretty simple. I like a lot of carbs. I like that high energy carbs. Currently, I have a honey sandwich. During training, thanks to Amy Cox, Target Nutrition, shout out Amy, I use Powerade granules to keep my carbohydrates up during session. We're probably getting at least 30 grams an hour while I'm training. This is a really hot tip for everyone. A lot of you should already know that, but if you don't, please encourage you to get on that, particularly as it's getting hotter and as I'm programming you lots of volume. If you're finding you're falling apart at the end of the session, throw some cards in during your training. That would help. Post-training, depends on where I am and what I have time for. Being a time poor human, we're doing lots of things. Mate, shakes are handy. Fruit protein oats, pretty basic. If I do have the opportunity for whole foods, then it's just protein, veg, and carbohydrates. I like chippies in the air fryer, in case you're wondering. Recovery. What does recovery mean? What does it really mean? Does it include things like massage, physio, ice baths, saunas, or can it simply be a walk or foam rolling or even a basic as better sleep and nutrition? Yes. You answered your own question. The answer is yes. Yes to all the above. Where does the priority lies? Everybody knows it's sleep and nutrition. You need to get those things as best as possible. As best as possible means I understand that you can't sleep 8 hours a night and you probably don't have time to eat 6 meals a day. However, what you do have time to do is look at your routine for sleep and see if there's any more minutes to be had so you're not wasting time, social media, telephones, etc. And then creating a nighttime routine so when you do go to bed, you sleep well and have good quality sleep, tracking your sleep and ensure it's good quality sleep and making the most of what you have. Absolutely most important. Number 2 is nutrition. You need to be getting enough food in team. As I gave Amy a little shout out before, all of my humans, including myself, work with Amy Cost Target Nutrition. If you do need general advice and help, I'm here to help. However, I do just send you to Amy. I believe in working with experts. She is our expert for food. The other things are correct, yes, but however, sleep and nutrition is number 1. You got to get them right first. And then walking, moving. Movement is the best thing. That's something everyone can do. Like you do a big squat session, go for a walk the next day. Allocate an extra 10, 20 minutes to walk a little bit better. You'll feel amazing. What should training look like for someone who isn't able to access gym heavy weights but does have basic equipment and still wants to be a powerlifter? How do you minimize gains, loss, or not to lose much strength? And it sounds like a bit of a COVID-y question. How do you train at home? Now, this is very dependent. It depends on what you have access to. What equipment do you have at home? Let's assume you have the minimum. You have some barbells and some plates, but you don't have a lot of plates to lift maximally. We could probably argue you probably shouldn't be lifting maximally at home because you're probably alone and solo and don't have someone to spot you to keep you safe. So you probably shouldn't be doing that anyway. This is your opportunity to build volume. You can be in a volume phase for as long as required. You can move into a strength block, which is working that 5 to 3 range, but you just don't have to peak. Very simple. And if you don't have enough weights to get you into that 5 to 3 rep challenge, you just work with the amount of weight you have. And if you got to do 20 or 30 reps, then that's what you got to fucking do. You got to do a lot of reps. Some other things that make it easier to train with less weight. You work with tempo, so you slow the thing down. You make the lighter weight work for you. Being powerlifting, we chase weight on the bar. Those things are important. Obviously, in this stage of training, you don't have that opportunity to focus on a weight on the bar. Well, you do kind of. You can set some goals because there should and would be light at the end of the tunnel when you get to go and do heavy things and comps again. So use this time to think about some things that are important. Think about that comp process, some cool, fun ones you'd like to do. So that got you that big picture thing to work on. But if you're chasing, if we're all we can do is reps at home, let's set some new rep PBs. What's a 20 rep PB? I know that's a bit silly, but if that's what you've got, that's what you've got to do. No equipment. Look, that's a hard one. Basically, this is your time to prioritize prehab movements, working on weak points of the body, doing the banded stuff, doing all the stuff that we usually don't do much of, working on that. You need to look at obviously body weight movements because that's all you have is your body weight. If you have some bands, that makes it that adds an extra element of force. You can get creative with having buckets and jerry cans and bags of waters, etc. Push pull your car, etc. If you're strong enough to do a chin up, if there's somewhere in the house you can do a chin up, which usually helps. You look at local parks. I know not far from us is a really cool local park. They got rings, chins, dips. They even got like this little bodyweight leg press thing, which is kind of cool. You look at using single limb work, and again, you bring your tempo in. You do lots of reps, lots and lots of reps. If you're looking for a challenge, look up a thing called a Hindu squat or a Hindu push-up. That will smash you. Also, good opportunity to muck around some plyometrics, get explosive, get jumpy, get moving fast. And now we're going to talk about the R word, the dirty, gross R word. It is running. If you got nothing, even if you don't like running, running's better than nothing. So go for a run. This is, as powerlifters or strength athletes or people who like to lift weights, typically something that gets left behind is working on our fitness. This is the time to work on it. And you can have some fun with it. You can still challenge yourself with it. Set some 3K goals, some 5K goals. You don't need to be running half marathons, but get time based. How quick can you run a kilometer in? How quick can you run 3Ks in? Sprint work, hills, that's the kind of stuff I would probably lean to because I enjoy the idea of being powerful and moving fast. And again, you can time. What's your 40 like? What's your 100 like? What's your 200 like? That's what I'll be doing with the no equipment. Should you consider changing approach or other things you could look at outside of performance-based stuff? Absolutely. You can look at fixing up some stuff like your sleep, your nutrition. Those big players would be really good. And putting those together, this would be a great time to do that trendy word recomposition. Basically, you're trying to get fitter, you're trying to eat better, and as a result, you're going to lose some body weight. You're going to keep some muscle mass. You're going to get a little bit leaner. You're going to look and feel better. My advice would be to try and use particularly if you have some weights to work with, a combination of both. Do some strength training, use it as an opportunity to do prehab and rehab stuff. So when you do go back to lifting weights, you're as strong as you could ever be and get fit. That's pretty much what I like to do. Now, crew, that's some great questions. I love that, a good mix of everything. For now, as you know, every 2 weeks we'll drop this in. There'll be the link there. Follow it, watch it, enjoy it, give it a like. It's in a private group there. It's not shared to everyone, so I keep it just for you guys. Feel free to use that link anytime to drop questions. If you train at the gym and you're like, oh man, this would be a cool question to ask Johnny, boom, throw it in there. And then I'll get back to you in 2 weeks with another one of these videos. Thanks very much, team. Talk to you soon.